Good morning. I'm Crystal with Whole New Perspective. Welcome to my channel. Now, if you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. I am still in my hashtag Jarred Up 2023 challenge. One of the things that my sister has asked me to do is something very simple and easy that if you don't have a garden, you're not going to the farmer's market, you can still do. Something that you can go to the grocery store and you'll be able to preserve. So that's what I'm getting ready to do today. I have these things on hand, and many of you may have these things on hand. I'm getting ready to jar up some salsa. And this will be the very first time I've jarred it up without using my own fresh produce. This is what I'm going to do. Now, I've seen people use this and they say that it's very good. And so I'm putting this to the test, okay? So I'm getting ready to jar up some salsa. Let me tell you what it says that we need. And you can go out and purchase these things and jar up your salsa too. I'm going to be using this. I've had these for quite some time. These are from Costco. So I need either 6 pounds of fresh tomatoes. Now, we don't have any fresh tomatoes. They're not in season right now. Can't go to the farmer's market and get them. And so I do not have 6 pounds of fresh tomatoes. That's where this comes in handy. You can use 6 cans of 14.5 ounces of petite diced or regular low sodium tomatoes. These are not petite, but they're gonna work just fine, okay? Then I'm going to use a half a cup. It mentions this particular brand, white vinegar. I don't have that, but I do have some white distilled vinegar, and it needs to be at 5% acidity. I'm gonna use this. It's at 5% acidity. So yes, this is what I'm going to be using. That's it. These are the ingredients that I need. Now, I do have a canning pot, but I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to use my stock pot. I have my stock pot on right now. Now, I'll give you a better view of it. So if you have a stock pot, you can use your stock pot to can. The key is to ensure that you have a towel or something else on the bottom layer of your pot, because you don't want to set your glass jars on the very bottom of the canner. You may have an issue with those jars breaking. So you want to make sure that you put something on the bottom if you are using your regular stock pot. Now, there are a lot of other things out there that you can purchase, but you don't have to purchase that. Just use your stock pot. You do have to ensure that your stock pot is large enough to have an inch of water above your jars once you start processing them. So once you have done that, you are good to go. So let me tell you what I'm getting ready to do. I'm getting ready to follow these instructions. I've already sterilized my jars. They're in this canner right now. I really have them simmering, and so they'll stay here nice and hot and warm until we're ready to fill them. And I'll bring you back with that. But before I even do that, we're going to put these, I have 6 of these cans, so we'll put these 6 cans on the stove top with this half a cup of this white distilled vinegar, 5% acidity, and this package of salsa. I'm going to combine all of this. Then it says I'm going to bring this mixture to a boil and boil it. I'm going to combine everything that I have here, and then I'm going to bring this mixture to a boil. I'm going to turn it down, and I'm going to let it go for 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. That's it. So this is very simple. So I've heard really good things about it, heard that it was full flavor, but now I'm going to get the opportunity to try this. And again, this is something that's very simple and easy that you can do at home. You do need your canning jars, but listen, that's if you're going to be jarring it up and canning it like I am. If you want to jar it up and put it in the refrigerator or the freezer, please feel free to do that. It does say that you can do that. This is going to give us 5 pints, is what it says. And again, you can freeze it or can it. Has the instructions on here for canning. And I'm just gonna follow these instructions, okay? So I'm gonna bring you back with me once I get all of this in the pot and get it going on the stove. Okay, I have everything in the pot. You do need to make sure that you're not using a pot that will react with the tomatoes, so don't use any aluminum. Everything is in here, and also I could have used apple cider vinegar. Now I'm just sticking with the white distilled vinegar for my very first time using this. I really like apple cider vinegar, so the next time I may just go ahead and use apple cider vinegar. So I'm just going to let this come up to a boil, and then I'll let it simmer, like it said, for 10 minutes, stirring it occasionally. We'll be back. So it has come to a boil, and I'm just going to turn it down, let it simmer for 10 minutes. Then I'll start jarring it up. So now I've just pulled my salsa off of the stove. I'm going to pull my jars out of the canner, and remember, I'm actually using my stock pot as a canner. Got to be careful. They're very hot. Now I should get 5 pints. I could do one at a time. I'll do 2 at a time. And before I forget, I do have this little basket. This basket will fit down in most stock pots. You can take that off. And when I have really small batches, I do like to use this in a smaller stock pot. It just keeps everything in place. So I'm going to read the instructions again on this salsa. And it says I've already prepared my jars and sterilized them. Pour the hot salsa into the clean hot pint canning jars, leaving a 1/2 inch headspace. That's what I'm going to do. I'll remove the air bubbles, wipe the rim and cap. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the filled jars back into my canner, process it for 40 minutes in a boiling water bath canner. Then after I finish the 40 minutes, I'm going to turn it off, remove the canner lid, and I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes, just like I do in any other water bath canner. Then I'm going to remove my jars, let it sit undisturbed to a cool room temperature for 12 to 24 hours. Then what we'll do is come back tomorrow, and after they've set for 12 or more hours, we'll come back, make sure that they're sealed, and I'll show you that process. Any that's not sealed, we'll just refrigerate or use right away. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to filling these jars. Again, I did not use the petite tomatoes, but that's okay. I'm gonna continue to fill these jars. I should get at least 5 pints. I think I'll have some more, and I'll need to fill it to 1/2 inch headspace. And then I'll just show you this one. Looks close. And 1/2 inch headspace is there. And it's perfect. It is perfect. So what I'll do then, now that it is to that 1/2 inch headspace, I'm just going to take some vinegar and clean this jar rim off. Don't want to have anything that will disturb the seal. And so this vinegar will take care of cleaning that. I'm going to put the lid on it. Still pretty hot. And I'm using the Sure Tight lid, and that is why you don't see me boiling my lids or putting my lids in hot water. It's because I'm using the Sure Tight lids. Now there are some other lids out there, which I have some Harvest lids, those type of lids that you may need to put those in some water to help with the seal. But this newer Sure Tight lid, it doesn't require that. You just need to wash it before you use it, and then you don't have to put it in any type of water for the seal, for it to have a better seal. So make sure that you know when you have your lids, the type of lid that you have, the type of lid that you're using. That way you'll know if you need to put it in, boil it in some water or not. Like I said, with the Sure Tight lids, you don't, and that's what I'm using. Okay, there is a step that you didn't see and I didn't do, and that is the debubbling. You do need to debubble this. So, usually not gonna find any in this liquid, but I'm gonna debubble it anyway. And that's what that is. And I'm gonna put a little more in here because that's not a fourth, that's about a half. And you'll get to the point to where you can judge what a fourth is. And then once you do, I'm just going to go ahead once again, clean my rim off. See, that would have kept this from sealing. And it still has more on it. So I will definitely get it cleaned off good. And it is. Then I'm going to go ahead and put this lid on here. You just want to make sure that it's fingertip tight. Then I'm just going to put it back down in my canner. And I'll continue to do this until I have everything complete. I'll show you that and come back and we'll be finished with this. So this is my canner. I do have 5 pints of the salsa. Now you do see some other jars. Those are just fillers for me. If this was my pressure canner, I may have added lids to that and just canned some water to have some sterile water. But I don't do that with my water bath canner. I do leave them in there sometimes as fillers. So that way I don't have to worry about the jars tilting or anything. So this particular stock pot is the same size as my canner, so I'm able to put the bottom of my pressure canner down in there, so I don't have to use a towel. But if I didn't have one, I would just use a towel. I'm going to crank the heat back up to high, put the lid on it, and get it going. Once it comes up temperature and starts to boil, I'll let it come to a rolling boil and boil for 40 minutes, okay? It's finished processing. I have 5 beautiful jars of salsa. You hear it popping, yeah. I can tell the one that I didn't debubble, the first one, that's that one. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and eat that one, no problem, because it was delicious. But this is a good way to put some things on the shelf if you don't have a farmer's market or growing a garden yourself. There's still ways that you can put things on the shelf. Now I don't recall how much this cost because I purchased everything that I have a year or 2 ago. So it is the next day and everything sealed, all 5 jars sealed. So all I'm going to do is take the rings off. I'll take all the rings off. And I'm going to wash them. And after I finish washing them, I'm just going to store them. And yes, you store them without the rings. Store them without the rings. So thank you guys for coming along with me as I showed you some things that you can jar up with purchases from the grocery store.